let me assure you that our priority will remain to ensure stability and security.
In order to ensure the security and continuing
Stability, security for Canadians.
Galactic Empire!
So this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.
You are listening to the election fallout on oppositionradio.com.
Printed, stomped, and strategically removed. I am everybody. Insane without innocence. I am trapped, tricked, packaged, and shipped out. I am produced. I am produced. I am produced. Printed, stomped, tripped, trapped, tricked, packaged, shipped, produced. Printed, stomped, tripped, trapped, tricked, packaged, shipped, produced. Printed, stomped, tripped.
And welcome to episode 21 of Election Fallout on oppositionradio.com. My name is Tony Lofin, and I am joined, as always, by my esteemed co-host, Mike Cook, who occupies Orillia, Ontario, amongst other things. How's the weather down there today, Mike?
It's not too bad. It's looking like January out there. Guess that's good.
Yeah, at least you're indoors, though.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. Unlike some people in London who are stuck occupying some picket lines today.
Yeah, definitely a lot of action in London, and rightfully so. It's troubling times.
Yeah. Did you catch much of the coverage of the massive demonstration that the Ontario Federation of Labour carried out?
I haven't seen a lot of the video demonstration or any video of the demonstration. Of course, I've done some reading on the situation and things like that, but I definitely support all the people that are showing up down there. And, if I could be there, I would, but there's no such luck.
Yeah. See, now, I watch this and I feel for the people whose families are being put under a financial and emotional strain by the situation, and I wonder if the people from Caterpillar laugh at people standing outside in January. That's the sad thing about it. I just don't know what they're doing. I'm just wondering, shouldn't they be working on the NDP leadership campaign right now instead? You know, this is a foregone conclusion. Stephen Harper is an ideologue who's not going to be swayed by people standing outside freezing their butts off.
I guess there's some truth to that, although, the only thing that I can say is that it's always good to see that amount of energy put into pointing out some of the inconsistencies with Stephen Harper's government. And, the NDP leadership race is obviously important too. But it'll keep moving on, and this might even be something that will assist it in showing that their concerns are just as much the concerns of a lot of working people in Ontario.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, this does get press coverage, and without these guys occupying a picket line, holding up their signs, and basically, I guess one of the functions of a picket line is to protect from scabs getting in there and doing their work on them, right? Basically, this does bring to one very important piece of information to light, especially in the context of a government so far that has been making war on unionized labor. What we saw with Air Canada and the postal workers union so far. Here's a situation in which these guys would love to be ordered to arbitration and ordered back to work. All right. I understand that making locomotives is not part of the lifeblood of this society, but these are important jobs. And if Air Canada and the postal workers can be ordered back to work, I just wish Stephen Harper would order these guys back to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's definitely taking a whole different stance, and this is one of those things that that really, I think, a lot of people are going to see through Stephen Harper's position. You can't attack unions the way Stephen Harper has, and then claim also to be just concerned about creating jobs and concerned about the economy, and then sit on your hands and watch as these
jobs are destroyed and the economy is hurt. Yeah, absolutely.
And not just any jobs. These are highly skilled employees that, they make good wages.
Yeah.
But Stephen Harper used this company as a photo op in 2008.
Yeah.
And he told them then that their jobs were secure because of approximately $5 million in corporate tax cuts that were supposed to be given as job incentive. Or job
exactly, for Caterpillar to keep these jobs in Canada. Caterpillar took the $5 million in tax credits, waited until the CBA ran out, and then all of a sudden locked the workers out. And in the meantime, they had time to build factories in places like Illinois, south of the border, so that the manufacturing capacity of this company can be rerouted south of the border, where there is, they've already destroyed their labor organizations down there, and people will have to work for the slave wages. And I'd like to remind people that when a man has a family or a woman has a family and they make $35 an hour, this is a person that can go out and buy a car. This is a person that can eat in restaurants. This is a person that can pay a mortgage. This is a person that can do a lot of things in the economy.
That's what we used to respect.
Right.
Was a person, like you say, who goes out, puts in their time, does their job, and of course they expect to get paid, and like you say, they spend their money in this economy.
If these workers were to take what this company is offering right now, $16.50 an hour instead of $35 an hour, these people no longer are vital parts of the London economy. These are people that can pay rent and buy groceries, and that's it. You know what I mean? At that point in time. So, when Mayor Joe Fontana from London says, "Get your ass down here, Prime Minister Harper," he is he's saying a mouthful there, and Harper should be looking at this, and the Canadian people should be looking at this, because the veil has been lifted from Stephen Harper's true motives. Stephen Harper's true motives in attacking unionized labor are not to improve the economy and help create and preserve jobs. It's to line the pockets of his corporate masters. And if there's one thing these guys standing out suffering in the middle of January are going to accomplish, it's going to draw attention to this fact. And so thanks, guys out there.
I also hope that London, keeps this in their memory. I believe that the City of London it has 3 different ridings, and all 3 elected Conservatives, I'm pretty sure. And none of those MPs, of course, like you expect a Conservative MP to be able to say anything.
They're fine with. Apparently, they're fine with those jobs disappearing.
Yeah. So I hope London remembers this in 3 or 4 years, and that's 3 Conservatives that maybe we can get rid of pretty easily. So, and I just want to say this too. I know that the most common argument that people will say with this with any type of strike, it's not even just on this one. They'll say, "I would love to make $16 an hour. I'm only making $12." And those people, they need to realize that the question isn't that they could make $4 an hour going to work for this place that's going to reduce wages from 35 to 16. Is how would you like your $12 an hour wage reduced by half? How would you like to make 6?
Exactly.
Because that's what's happening here.
There has to be, in order for this economy to function, there's got to be people in our society that have buying power. And we're slowly losing, and that's called the middle class, by the way, and we're slowly losing the middle class, which it's going to have a terrible negative ripple effect down our economy. Yeah. So what else has been happening this week, Mike?
Well, I know that later on we're going to get to some of the Peter Mansbridge interview with Stephen Harper, and I think that that's going to be important to talk about. And the other thing I'd just like to point out in passing here is Fair Vote Canada has released a 3-part article on proportional representation, and it's really well crafted. The first portion looks at the history and how Canada, chose its electoral system, and the problems that occur as we move forward in time with a system that was originally originally assumed and adopted when there were only 2 parties, and seat distribution and the popular vote were very comparable with only 2 parties. But now there's, you could say maybe up to 5 if the Bloc Québécois make a comeback. You have the Bloc, the Greens, the NDP, the Liberals, and the Conservatives. And as soon as you use a first-past-the-post system with 5 viable political parties, the results between popular vote and seat distribution become completely...
Actually, yeah, you get abominations such as this government, which wins 38% of 60% of the eligible voters and gets dictatorial powers. That has to be stopped. So yeah, everyone check out fairvote.ca.
Yeah, and just the last thing I'll say about that is the point they make in their 3rd portion of the article is that, there are a number of democracies in the world that use a proportional system. There's only a small amount of them that still use a first-past-the-post system or some other option. And then they also make really strong, good arguments against the fear of the 2 things that you always hear people in Canada raise: the fear of perpetual minority governments and the fear of the word coalition. And they prove that minority governments aren't always less stable. There are things that can be done to make them just as stable, and that parties learn to work together in these situations. And coalitions to say that they're anti-democratic is ridiculous. So check out that article, fairvote.ca. And
hey Mike, why don't we post it on our Facebook page?
That sounds like a good idea.
If someone's listening to this show live right now, I put a link to our Facebook profile so that you can check out articles that we're talking about online or on this show, and you can check them out while you're listening. And if Mike, you can throw that on our Facebook page, that would be great.
Sounds good.
Look below where the window that you're watching the show, and right beside the election fallout logo to the right, you'll see a link to our Facebook. And I've already put up an article or an interview from November in which Seymour Hersh discusses the politicization of the IAEA intelligence report that is currently being used by Harper and the rest of the neocons, warmongering neocons in this world, to beat the drums of war in their march to Iran's oil fields. So anyway, well, let's get our links up on there so people can see them, and it's always handy to look at what we're looking at when you're listening to our show. And of course, if you're listening to this after the fact, it'll all be on the page. All the articles will be linked there too, right where you're listening to it.